A heartbreaking blow to the hip-hop world. Rapper Nipsey Hussle gunned down outside his own clothing store, right on the street he grew up on. A rising NFL star shot dead less than 24 hours after surviving an attack in his own home. Killed in broad daylight. Poisoned mid-performance. Pushed from a 15th floor balcony. These aren't scenes from a movie, they're the shocking, real-life endings of 21 Black R&B artists whose lives were stolen too soon. Some were murdered in cold blood. Others, their deaths clouded by mystery and covered up by unseen hands. Hidden forces that vanished without a trace. If you're ready to uncover the dark truth behind these chilling tragedies, prepare yourself. What you'll discover may haunt you. Sam Cooke, the legend silenced in the dead of night. Sam Cooke wasn't just a voice, he was a movement. With classics like You Send Me, Cupid, and A Change Is Gonna Come, he shaped the sound of R&B and soul. But beyond the music, Cooke was a revolutionary, one of the first black artists to own his masters and run his own label. He challenged the industry, demanded power, and fought for artist control in a world that wanted to keep him silent. Then, on December 11, 1964, everything ended. Around 3 a.m., in a shabby Los Angeles motel on Figueroa Street, Cooke was shot dead. He was found wearing only a jacket, lying in a pool of blood in the manager's office. The shooter, Bertha Franklin, claimed he had attacked her while searching for a woman he'd been with earlier, Elisa Boyer. Franklin fired 3 shots, one hitting his heart. The police ruled it self-defense and closed the case almost instantly. But the details didn't add up. Elisa was later arrested for prostitution. Some believe she was hired to lure Sam into a setup. Franklin, allegedly armed and waiting, wasn't just a frightened motel clerk, she was part of something bigger. Cooke's injuries suggested a brutal beating, broken bones, a disfigured face, far beyond what self-defense would explain. Whispers grew louder. Was the FBI watching him for his civil rights activism? Did his push for independence from RCA make him a target? Sam Cooke was powerful, and power like his made enemies. His death looked like a tragic misunderstanding, but to many, it was an execution masked as chaos. Nothing about it felt random. Because it wasn't. Nipsey Hussle was more than a rapper. He was a symbol of hope, a hometown hero in South LA. Born Ermia's Joseph Askedam, he rose to fame with his critically acclaimed album Victory Lap, but his true legacy lived in the streets of Crenshaw, where he poured his heart and money into rebuilding black communities. His life was a battle, not just in music, but in a world of rival interests, street politics, and powerful forces. On March 31, 2019, at 3:20 p.m., that battle ended in a tragedy that shook the nation. Outside his own Marathon clothing store, his pride and vision, Nipsey was gunned down in broad daylight. Eric Holder, a former acquaintance, approached and fired 6 fatal shots into Nipsey's head and chest. 2 others were wounded. It was fast, brutal, and public, right in front of dozens of stunned witnesses. Holder was later arrested, convicted, and sentenced to life in 2023, reportedly over a personal insult. Nipsey had called him a snitch. But many believe there was more at play. Nipsey had become a roadblock to powerful developers trying to gentrify Crenshaw. Behind the scenes were high-stakes land deals and power struggles. Some believe Holder didn't act alone, that he may have been a pawn in a larger game to silence a man who refused to sell out his community. XXXTentacion, Yase Dwayne Ricardo Onfroy, a rising star silenced in broad daylight. Known for blending rap, R&B, and emo into haunting hits like Sad, he was redefining his image and turning a new page in life. But on June 18, 2018, just after 4 p.m., that journey ended in a burst of violence. As he left Riva Motorsports in Deerfield Beach, Florida, a black SUV cut him off. In seconds, 2 gunmen opened fire, 6 shots, no warning, no chance to escape. They grabbed a Louis Vuitton bag and sped off. Police called it a robbery. 4 suspects were arrested. The triggerman, Dedrick Williams, was sentenced to life. But to many, this wasn't just a random stick-up. The broad daylight ambush, the clean getaway, the timing, it all felt too calculated. Fans and investigators alike believe XXXTentacion's murder carried the signs of a targeted hit. In the ruthless world of hip-hop, where rivalries run deep and blood has spilled before, from Tupac to Biggie, many still ask, was this revenge disguised as robbery? Otis Redding was more than a soul legend. He was a voice that broke racial barriers and captured the heart of America. With hits like Sittin', The Dock of the Bay, he stood on the edge of superstardom. But on December 10, 1967, at just 26 years old, his life ended in a chilling tragedy. The plane carrying Redding and his band, the Bar-Kays, crashed into Wisconsin's Lake Monona amid dense fog and freezing rain. Only one person survived. Just 3 days earlier, Redding had recorded what would become his biggest hit. But some believe the crash wasn't just bad luck, it was a calculated move. Redding had been battling with Stax Records, demanding ownership of his music and preparing to launch his own label. That kind of independence could have cost the label millions. The crash investigation was rushed, lacking in-depth mechanical checks. The FE didn't dig deep, and Stax walked away with full control of his unreleased catalog, earning millions from Dock of the Bay alone. To this day, the question lingers. Was it a tragic accident, or a silencing of power? Donny Hathaway, the soul genius silenced by a fatal fall from the 15th floor. Widely hailed as one of the greatest voices in soul music, Donny Hathaway moved America with haunting classics like A Song for You, especially in his iconic duets with Roberta Flack. A Grammy winner and jazz soul legend, his brilliance lit up the industry until one chilling night changed everything. On January 13, 1979, in a New York recording studio, Hathaway seemed agitated and incoherent. Mid-session, he abruptly left and returned alone to his room at the Essex House Hotel. Hours later, his lifeless body was discovered on the sidewalk. The window of his 15th floor suite stood wide open. Police ruled it a suicide, but questions linger to this day. Whispers spread that Hathaway was preparing to sue Atlantic Records for the rights to his music, claims that could have cost the label millions. His documented mental health struggles were quickly used to explain away the tragedy, but many in the industry believe the truth was far darker. That Donny knew too much, and paid the ultimate price. Huey, pop, lock and drop. Then gone. Huey, born Lawrence Franks Jr., rose to fame with the explosive hit Pop, Lock and Drop It, capturing the spirit of early 2000s hip-hop. But behind the catchy hooks and stage lights was a man fighting to reclaim his place in a world that never played fair. A native of Kinloch, Missouri, a town scarred by crime and gang warfare, Huey was on the brink of a long-awaited comeback when tragedy struck. In the early morning hours of June 25, 2020, around 1 a.m., Huey was attending a small gathering on Maffitt Avenue in his hometown. Out of nowhere, gunfire erupted, not a scuffle, but a calculated ambush. Huey was hit in the chest and died at the scene. He was just 32. Another man, only 21, was injured but survived. No arrests. No suspects. Just silence. Whispers on the street suggest this wasn't random. In Kinloch, where gang rivalries simmer beneath the surface, Huey's return to music may have stirred jealousy and resentment. Though he wasn't part of any gang, some believe his growing momentum made him a target. The streets lit up with rumors. Was it envy, rivalry, or something deeper? One thing's certain, Huey's life was cut short just as his second act was about to begin. South African hip-hop icon aka, born Kieran Jared Forbes, was gunned down in a brutal execution on Durban's Florida Road. Known for his smash hit Fella in Versace, aka wasn't just a chart-topping rapper, he was a fearless voice against corruption and injustice in South Africa. But on the night of February 10, 2023, his rising flame was extinguished. Just after 10 p.m., aka and his close friend, Tebello Tibbs Matsoane, stepped out of Wish Restaurant. Within seconds, two hooded gunmen emerged from the shadows and opened fire. The ambush was swift, silent, and deadly. Surveillance footage showed no argument, no warning, just a cold, calculated hit. The killers disappeared without a trace. While police chase weak leads, the motive feels chillingly clear. AKA's outspoken stance against the powerful and long-standing feuds, including a high-profile rivalry with rapper Casper Nyavest, painted a target on his back. This wasn't random. It was a silencing, executed with precision. Central C, a rising Caribbean talent, gunned down in cold blood on a grim night in Freeport. Born Sidney Wilson and known to fans as Lil Cess, he was carving out a unique sound, fusing R&B, reggae, and soul, earning underground buzz across the islands. He wasn't yet a household name, but his potential was undeniable. He dreamed of breaking barriers in Caribbean music. That dream died on November 25, 2019. Late that night in Freeport, Trinidad and Tobago, a place where gunfire is common and justice often disappears, Lil Cess was walking the streets, unaware he was being hunted. Within seconds, bullets tore through his chest and head. No time to scream, no time to run. Police claimed it was just another random shooting, another casualty of gang violence. But locals whispered a darker truth. Freeport streets are ruled by gangs that don't just run drugs, they run the music scene. And Lil Cess had crossed a line. Despite rising pressure, he refused to launder money through gang-sponsored events. Worse, he reportedly threatened to expose a major gang leader. That made him a target. Police barely investigated. Ballistics were ignored. The motorcycle used in the hit vanished, along with any real pursuit of justice. Some say silence was bought. In the end, his murder was swept away, just another name lost in Freeport's bloody tide. But to those who heard his voice, Lil Cess was more than a victim. He was a warning. Fire Fire, Jamaica's rising underground sensation, was gunned down in Kingston's dark underworld. Another bright flame snuffed out before it had the chance to truly burn. Known for blending R&B, dancehall, and reggae with fearless energy, Rude Boy Fire, just 26, was the voice of a new generation. But in August 2021, that voice was silenced on a quiet Kingston street. 5 cold, calculated shots ended his life. No warning, no escape. The setup was too clean. A large van conveniently blocked security cameras. Police barely investigated. No interviews. No footage. No justice. In Kingston's violent underground, where gangs often control music through extortion and money laundering, artists like Rude Boy are expected to comply or disappear. But Rude Boy Fire refused. He challenged the system. He even threatened to expose a powerful gang leader to international authorities. That courage cost him everything. His death wasn't just a murder, it was a message. And in Jamaica's raw, unforgiving underground, that message echoes louder than his music ever could. Andre Beadle, known as Dre Vision, was a rising star in Jamaica's R&B and reggae scene, a young artist fighting to break through in one of the world's most unforgiving music landscapes. But on a dark October night in 2012, that fight came to a violent, tragic end. Just outside Kingston in gang-infested St. Andrew, Andre was ambushed while driving. Gunshots ripped through the silence, brutal, unrelenting. He was struck multiple times and died at the scene, alone on a quiet road. No arrests, no answers. And for many, no doubt it wasn't random. Whispers in the streets say Dre had refused demands from a powerful gang leader, refused to pay protection money, refused to play their game. In a world where underground artists are often forced to perform at crime-linked events or paid to stay safe, that refusal may have signed his death warrant. To the underworld, Andre wasn't just defiant, he was dangerous. Sean Taylor, the underground star silenced too soon. Sean Taylor, better known as The Realist, was on the verge of breaking out from the underground rap world. With a gritty voice, raw lyrics, and collaborations with artists like Young Jeezy, he embodied the post-Tupac spirit of street survival and ambition. His sound, fused with hip-hop and R&B, carried the weight of someone hungry to rise above the street life and carve his name into music history. But on the night of October 16, 2007, that dream was gunned down outside a crowded Los Angeles nightclub. Just after midnight, shots rang out. In seconds, Taylor collapsed in the chaos. A single bullet to the chest ended it all. No arrests, no clear motive, just a blur of panic and unanswered questions. The official story said he got caught in a random fight. But those close to the scene whispered a darker truth. The underground rap world in LA was boiling with rivalries. Taylor's fast rise and ties to Jeezy had drawn attention and jealousy. Rumors suggested a rival rapper had been tracking his movements. Some even claimed someone in his own circle was paid off to reveal his location. A staged argument, a spark in the crowd, then gunfire, and the shooter vanished like smoke. Police, already stretched thin in a violent city, didn't press hard. The music industry stayed quiet. No outcry, no justice, just silence. And slowly, Sean Taylor's name slipped into the shadows. But for those who remember, it never felt random. It felt planned. A rising voice in rap, silenced with precision, hidden behind the smoke of club lights, ambition, and betrayal. Mohbad, a rising star silenced by a mysterious injection. Mohbad, born Ilerioluwa Loba, was one of Nigeria's fastest-rising music stars, fusing rap, R&B, and Afrobeats into an electrifying sound. His breakout hit, KPK, set social media on fire, and just as his fame peaked, he made headlines for something far darker, publicly accusing Marleyan Music, the label run by Naira Marley, of exploitation, threats, and abuse. Then, suddenly he was gone. On September 12, 2023, Mohbad reportedly collapsed after receiving an injection from an unknown nurse at a private clinic in Lagos. He never regained consciousness. No warning, no goodbye, just a chilling silence. He left behind a grieving young wife and a baby son. But Nigerians weren't buying the story. Outrage spread like wildfire. Protests erupted nationwide, demanding answers. Yet the investigation stalled. No toxicology report, no full autopsy, just vague statements and unanswered questions. Many believe the truth is being buried. Before his death, Mohbad had vowed to break free from the label's grip. He was no longer a controllable newcomer, he was a threat. And in an industry where power and secrets run deep, that may have cost him everything. Some fear he wasn't just a victim of medical negligence, but the target of a calculated silencing, struck down by a deadly injection the moment he dared to speak out. This wasn't just a tragic accident. It may have been a message. Papa Wemba, the iconic voice of Africa, collapsed mid-performance, never to rise again. And some believe it wasn't just fate, but foul play. As the godfather of Congolese rumba and the heartbeat behind the indomitable indamelo rhythm, Papa Wemba wasn't just a singer, he was a cultural revolution. With a voice that electrified continents and a fashion sense that crowned him Congo-style king, Wemba brought African music to the world stage like never before. On April 24, 2016, in the heart of the Femua Music Festival in Abidjan, thousands watched in awe as Wemba lit up the stage. Lights flashing, fans roaring, the music pulsing with energy, until suddenly, it all stopped. In the middle of a song, Wemba bent forward, collapsed, and lay still. At first, many thought it was part of the act. It wasn't. Medics rushed in. But by the time they reached him, he was already gone. Silenced under the spotlight, his final breath drowned by the fading sound of applause. The official cause? Sudden death, possibly from exhaustion. But the truth didn't sit right. He had shown no signs of illness. Just hours earlier, he was laughing over dinner, full of life. Behind the scenes, whispers of conspiracy began to swirl. Wemba had quietly supported opposition voices in Congo, a dangerous move in a volatile political climate. Some insiders believe poison was slipped into his pre-show drink. A tiny dose of strychnine, enough to kill quickly, leaving barely a trace. No investigation. No autopsy transparency. Just a hastily closed case. All that remained was a legend, lifeless on stage, and a haunting silence where the truth should be. Aaliyah, the princess of R&B, lost in the sky under mysterious circumstances. She was young, gifted, and unstoppable. Aaliyah ruled the early 2000s with her sleek blend of R&B, hip-hop, and pop. Hits like Try Again made her a global force, and Hollywood was calling. But just as her star reached its brightest, it was extinguished in the most chilling way. On August 25, 2001, after filming Rock the Boat in the Bahamas, Aaliyah boarded a Cessna 402B with her crew, heading back to the US minutes after takeoff. The plane plunged from the sky, exploding on impact. Aaliyah was killed instantly. She was only 22. The world was devastated, but what came next was even more disturbing. The aircraft was overloaded by more than 700 pounds. The pilot, Luis Morales, wasn't certified to fly it and tested positive for cocaine and alcohol. Why would a major label like Virgin Records allow its biggest star to fly under such reckless conditions? Why were no safety protocols enforced? Behind the scenes, a darker theory began to surface. This wasn't just an accident. Sources claimed Aaliyah was preparing to leave Virgin and start her own label, a move that could have cost the company millions. Some believe she was pushed onto the doomed flight despite warnings from the local crew. Just weeks after her death, Virgin released her unreleased music and made tens of millions. Was this a tragic accident, or a carefully staged end to protect profits? The truth may still lie buried in the twisted wreckage of that shattered plane. Goldie Harvey, a star silenced too soon. Goldie Harvey was one of Nigeria's brightest stars, bold, fearless, and on the verge of international fame. With her genre-blending sound of R&B, pop, and Afrobeats, and her chart-topping hit Don't Touch My Body, Goldie lit up the music scene. Her fiery persona and unapologetic ambition made her a standout, not just in Nigeria, but across Africa. But on Valentine's Day 2013, her rising star was tragically extinguished. Fresh off a trip to the US, where she attended the Grammys and mingled with industry elites at after-parties, Goldie returned to Lagos, full of dreams and momentum. That night, she complained of a headache, nothing alarming. Hours later, she collapsed. Rushed to the hospital in critical condition, Goldie never regained consciousness. The official cause, a brain hemorrhage from a stroke. But for many, the story didn't add up. She had no known medical issues. No toxicology tests were conducted. The investigation was closed almost immediately. Rumors spread fast. Insiders whispered about a jealous female rival in the Nigerian music scene, one who was allegedly enraged by Goldie's Grammy appearance. One source even claimed this rival had hired a Ghanaian poisoner known for using thallium, a nearly undetectable chemical that causes fatal brain bleeds. No one was ever charged. No proof ever surfaced. But the sudden death of Goldie Harvey, on the very night meant for love, left behind unanswered questions and a chilling sense that the truth may have been buried along with her. Mampintsha, South African music legend, dies on Christmas under a cloud of suspicion. Mampintsha, a powerhouse of South Africa's calm music scene and a leading member of the iconic group Big Nuz, died suddenly on Christmas Eve, 2022, just as he was staging a major comeback. Known for electrifying dance floors with his bold fusion of house, R&B, and street rhythms, especially in the Durban club scene, Mampintsha had recently re-emerged with fresh energy and new projects on the horizon. Then, out of nowhere, everything stopped. Just days earlier, he had suffered a mild stroke and was admitted to a Durban hospital. At first, doctors and loved ones thought he would recover. But suddenly, his condition worsened. His heart stopped. Within minutes, he was gone. The loss shook his family. Fans were left in disbelief. How could someone in recovery die so quickly? Then came the whispers, no full autopsy, no toxicology report, and mysteriously missing medical records. Many started asking, was this really natural? Rumors swirled around a Durban music producer who'd been cut from a lucrative deal with Mampintsha due to financial disputes. Some insiders claimed he had both the motive and the means to act. One chilling theory alleged that during a night shift, someone injected potassium chloride into Mampintsha's fore, a deadly chemical that causes cardiac arrest and is nearly undetectable. The hospital quickly labeled it heart failure from stroke complications. But the gossip didn't die down. Industry insiders spread stories of overwork, stress, and declining health, all of which only clouded the truth further. In the end, no one was held accountable. No real answers were given. And so, Mampintsha, a beloved cultural icon, was buried not just in grief, but in mystery. Damino Damosh, a rising star silenced too soon. Damino Damosh, born Damilola, wasn't just another name in Nigeria's Afrobeat scene. He was a blazing force, blending Afrobeat, R&B, and pop into a sound that had the world listening. His breakout hit Ian Mayweather marked him as the next global sensation. But just as his career was about to explode, tragedy struck. On the night of November 2, 2020, Damilola left a Lego studio, full of plans and promise. Less than an hour later, he was dead. His car had crashed into a mysterious concrete barrier in the middle of the road. No warning signs. No barriers. No explanation. Police quickly blamed loss of control and closed the case. No brake analysis. No sabotage investigation. No ballistic tests. The windshield showed odd fractures, but no one looked deeper. Then whispers began to surface. Insiders revealed that Damilola had just signed with a major international label, one that could have catapulted him far beyond his peers. Around the same time, he had clashed repeatedly with a rival artist who allegedly resented his rise. Some claimed this rival pressured Damilola's family to bury the autopsy results. The Lagos police, lacking forensic tools, never uncovered what really happened. In the end, the story was buried, erased like a file deleted too soon. But here's the haunting truth. Damino Demoche didn't just die in a crash. He died on the very road he thought would carry him to the world stage. Ebony Rains, Ghana's rising music queen, was killed in what many believe was a carefully staged midnight crash. With her electrifying fusion of R&B, dancehall, and Afrobeats, Ebony skyrocketed to fame with hits like Poison. She wasn't just a singer, she was a fearless feminist icon, unapologetically bold and wildly popular. Just days before her 21st birthday, on February 8, 2018, Ebony was driving from Sunyani to Kumasi with her friend and bodyguard. As their jeep moved through the quiet night near Nyambikere, a VIP bus suddenly veered into their lane. The collision was brutal. No one survived. Authorities called it a tragic accident, but the details didn't sit right. No investigation into the vehicle's airbags. No mechanical checks. The bus was nearly empty. The driver was never seriously questioned. Ebony had been on the verge of signing with a major international label, Ghana's most in-demand artist at the time. Her explosive success had stirred jealousy, especially from a male rival who had been pushed out of the spotlight. Rumors swirled. To her fans, it wasn't just an accident. It was an execution masked as fate. Ebony Rains didn't just die. She was silenced. Lexii Alijai, a rising rap star from Minneapolis, had the world at her feet. Known for her soulful blend of R&B and hip-hop and standout collaborations with Kehlani, she was on the verge of a major breakthrough with her project Growing Pains. But on New Year's Eve 2019, everything changed. After attending a party in Minneapolis, Lexii was found unresponsive the next morning. She was just 21. The official cause: an accidental overdose of fentanyl and ethanol. But many felt the story didn't add up. Lexii had no known history of addiction. No investigation was made into where the drugs came from or who brought them. Some partygoers whispered about a shady figure who allegedly pressured her into trying something stronger, promising a new kind of high. It may have been a setup that went horribly wrong. To this day, questions linger. Was it truly an accident? Or something darker? One thing is certain: Lexii Alijai's life ended far too soon, and her tragic final moments remain wrapped in mystery. Costa Titch's final performance left a nation in shock. Costa Titch was more than a rising star. He was the face of South Africa's new wave, blending hip-hop and amapiano with hits like Big Flexa that electrified fans across the globe. But on March 11, 2023, at Johannesburg's Ultra Music Festival, his meteoric rise ended in tragedy. In the middle of a high-energy set, Costa stumbled, convulsed, and collapsed in front of thousands. The crowd fell silent. Moments later, he was gone, dead before age 30, right on South Africa's biggest stage. Official reports blamed a seizure or exhaustion, but the story doesn't sit right. Costa had no known health issues, and this was a tightly rehearsed show. Whispers of foul play spread fast. Could it have been poisoning? In the cutthroat world of amapiano, where rivalries run deep and fame breeds enemies, Costa's growing power and a rumored US record deal may have made him a target. Strangely, no toxicology tests were done. On-site medics rushed to declare sudden death. Police, lacking resources and possibly pressured by industry players, didn't dig deeper. Kostatech's death wasn't just a heartbreaking loss for music, it's a haunting mystery that still casts a dark shadow over South Africa's music scene. Jimi Hendrix didn't just play guitar, he set it on fire, both literally and musically. Hailed as the greatest guitarist of all time, Hendrix tore down musical boundaries, blending R&B, blues, funk, and rock into unforgettable anthems like Purple Haze and Voodoo Child. He ruled every stage he touched, becoming a force far bigger than music itself. But on the morning of September 18, 1970, the world was shaken. Hendrix was found dead in a London apartment, face down, unresponsive, his mouth filled with vomit. The official cause? A fatal overdose of Vesperac sleeping pills, 18 times the normal dose. But the deeper you dig, the darker it gets. His girlfriend, Monica Danman, was the only one there. Her conflicting stories sparked decades of suspicion. Why did she wait to call for help? Why was Hendrix trying to sever ties with his controversial manager, Michael Jeffrey, a man rumored to have exploited him and stood to lose millions in an impending lawsuit? After Hendrix's death, Jeffrey quietly collected on a $2 million insurance policy. Was this a tragic accident or a silencing hit? The questions have never stopped. And neither has the feeling that Hendrix was taken far too soon, not by fate, but by design. These aren't just stories. They're warnings. Behind the spotlight and stardom lie secrets most fans never hear about. If you're ready to uncover more chilling truths buried beneath fame, drop a comment and hit subscribe. Because this is only the beginning.